Hello and welcome to the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast, where we sit and talk about the Chronicles of Dragonlance novels through each chapter by chapter for the first 3 books, and hopefully eventually hit the entirety of the Dragonlance series. Probably not chapter by chapter, but right now we're just deep in Winter Night and enjoying ourselves. I'm one of your hosts, Shivam, and with me as always, my dear friend Jonathan. Hey, John.
Hey.
Yeah, so we are getting into the climactic moments of Dragons of Winter Night right now. What is this, book 2, chapter 7?
Book 2, chapter 7.
Yeah.
An unexpected journey.
It feels like a big pivot moment for the book because, like, the Council of Whitestone has happened, and now everybody is getting their marching orders and going off to the other sides of the world. The other half of the heroes who were in the Sylvanesti Dream have finally made it up to Flotsam and are about to start on their pathways somewhere. And we get a lot of just kind of resolutions and...
It's like cleanup.
Yeah, exactly.
Before the next big beats of the story.
Exactly.
We need to tidy up some loose ends here, and then here's the next big story beats, because there's some big ones.
Yeah, it really feels like the epilogue for this section of the story. Exactly that. It's cleanup chapter is what it is. So the book opens with Laurana talking to Elistan. You know, she's sitting there and she's been having a moment with her family because she showed up in Sancris. She's talked to the knights in the council, hooked back up with Elistan to help him out with his work, and runs into her parents, and her dad rather. And she's basically coming to the understanding that living with the elves is not where she's going to be. And honestly, the fact that she's just kind of been like adrift and is tired of all this and wants to see Tanis again.
Yeah, it opens with her telling Elistan that, you know, look, I did leadership and I'm done now. Now I want to do what's important to me. A little fundamental misunderstanding of the role of leadership here.
Yeah, I think Laurana doesn't quite understand that you don't get off this train. But you can tell that she is very much over it. She's very tired of all of this. And she's like, I need to go to Sylvanesti. I saw him in the dream. I want to get there. And Elisan's like, I'm not even sure he's going to be there, dude. And she's like, don't care. Gotta go.
Yeah. And then she talks about how she met up with her dad. And as you said, she realizes she won't live with, she's kind of outgrown living with the elves, right? She had a very tiny sense of the world.
Yeah.
And now she knows that the world is much bigger and there's so much more important things that, like, going back to just being the Speaker of the Sun's daughter would never be fulfilling for her, even if she wanted to.
Yeah.
Even if she told herself at some point, oh, that's what I want to do, I'm just going to go back. She would very quickly find, I don't get to do anything.
Yeah.
I used to save the world. I went to Icewall. I fought Dragonlords. I got a Dragonlance. I trekked across the world. She would very quickly find herself so bored sitting around.
Yeah, especially when you think of the fact that her choices are going to be go back and go to like finishing school and then marry some noble that her dad wants her to marry and have a brood of elven children or whatever. She's definitely Jane Austen heroine here, where it's like, oh, there is no life for me if I go back to the nobility because I'm going to be trapped into the structure of being the noble's daughter, right? Like,
yeah,
the most eligible bride in the entire thing of Qualinos. That does not seem like a good idea or a fun idea to her.
Oh, we do this little quick wrap up where she told her dad, like, hey, Galthanis is still alive. He's okay. And then he was like, okay, well, where is he and what is he doing? And she's like, I can't tell you that.
Yeah, to be fair, as a dad, entirely reasonable question. Hey, you know where my son went. Can you tell me where he is and if he's alive? And she's like, no, I can't.
I mean, she can tell him he's alive, but no more than that.
If one child tells me that the other child's alive, I'm like, even if your child is 100 years old and you're like 300 years old, you're still going to be like, that is code for he is breaking the lamp somewhere, you know, or like he has done something that is really problematic that I need to go and handle. And Solastaran's dad instinct is kicking in here like, what the hell do you mean you can't tell me where he is, girl? You are my child.
And then she straight up tells him, she's like, Dad, I showed up 2 minutes before you were going to go to war with the only people who can save us. She's I don't know if it's a smart idea for me to tell you sensitive information that's going to upset you, because you might just try to go to war again with people who can help us.
Yeah, and Dad's like, excuse me. A lot of us are in Laurana's position here, but
So you do not trust me, Laurana sighed. Her eyes went to the shattered Whitestone. Father, she said, you nearly went to war with the only people who can help save us. Her father had not replied, but in his cool farewell and in the way he leaned upon the arm of his elder child, he made it clear to Laurana that he now had only one child.
At least Porthos won't abandon me. And of course, Porthos being the hyper arch-conservative, eldest born over here is like, all right, well, whatevs. Man, I feel for both of them. I really do, because I know what Laurana is like. Look, she's chafing. She wants independence. She wants to experience the joy of life that she's had. And Soulstorm's like, I want my kids back. But maybe don't drive your kids away.
Yeah.
But then we get this pivot into getting an update on the Dragon Lances, because obviously Theros showed up, smashes a rock, and everything goes haywire. And so Theros is like, look, I've got like a handful of lances I made. We've got the old ones that we found that were down there. And I need to make more stuff. Who wants to help me? And so the elves are like, well, I guess we'll help you make them, but we're not going to help you fight or anything. We're figuring that out. And he's like, today sometime, maybe? They do answer one of the kind of weird plot holy questions that we would have had, which is like, hey, the olden texts say you needed the Hammer of Karas to make these, which is a little weird because Karas did not live until right around the Cataclysm time. But Karas just means night, but also like the original Dragonlance were made by the Hammer of Raorx. I don't know. This is weird. The legends are weird. It could be that the later Karas that we meet in Legends is like named after, they give him the name based on the old hammer or whatever.
Some original name.
The knights gave him the name Karas, which means knight. But they might have also done that because, oh, you're a dwarf, and here's an old famous dwarven name that we had in our culture. Anyways, the point is, Theros is just like, I don't care about the hammer. The hammer was there when men were not good at this. I am good at this. Now, I don't need no hammer. I've got the silver arm, which is like, gives him apparently stamina and the ability to like beat the crap out of this metal without like dying. It's been a long time since I read the Theros Ironfeld novel, but I really wish that Weiss and Hickman had kind of gone into like the silver arm and stuff. But at the same time, I'm also excited, happy kind of that they didn't. It's nice to just have some mystery.
In the last chapter, he says, and this gift from the gods, and he's referring to his silver arm. But like, what gift? How'd you get it? Where'd you go?
At some point, he got his hand lopped off. We saw that in Autumn Twilight. And then someone grafts this cyborg hand on it. And you're like, that's a story I want. I want that story. But it's also nice to just let some spaces exist and you could just imagine kind of like the adventure there. Of course, this is Dragonlance, so it's all been covered. But
I thought this was a rare instance in a dystopia, or not a dystopia, but, like a fallen world where they're better after, right? This is the one case where everyone talks about how everything was better pre-Cataclysm.
Yeah.
But here, Theros is saying, well, actually, the smithing arts are better now. Like, we've progressed. And it's like nothing else has progressed. Everyone still says they did it better pre-Cataclysm.
Yeah.
But here's Theros saying, actually, smithing and forge work and everything is better now.
The Cataclysm led to about 300 years of warfare, right? This is one of the things that always irked me about Dragonlance and really just high fantasy is that there's a point where like the author makes a decision that we are getting to this technological level and stopping.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you read the books on Huma or whatever, and everybody's like, ooh, Sturm's armor was antiquated because it was full plate, just like Huma used to have 3,000 years ago. And I'm like, 3,000 years ago, if you think about the armor from 3,000 years ago here, it is like a cow's hide with a hole in it, right, for your head. Side tangent here. When you look at Hindu artwork, and the Hindu gods are meant to have been appeared in different times, like the avatars of Vishnu come down over the course of times, over generations and eras and stuff. And you see pictures of Ram. Ram is wearing just like a loincloth, and he's got like no shirt on, and he's got a bow and a quiver of arrows. Then you look at Krishna, which is the avatar that immediately follows him, but is in an age future. He's got basically plate mail, not plate mail, but he's got like a golden breastplate on. He's got like armor and like armored shoulders, armored legs. He's in a chariot. He's got swords and mace. So technology has advanced in this like religious story. But like you look at fantasy and the stuff that's in Huma's time, they're all knights on chariots and knights on horses and lances and swords and crap. And then you look at Sturm, it's like the same.
Yeah.
Like somewhere in there, they just stopped innovating, or all the scientists just died over and over again. Or you're like, hey, we have magic and clerics. We don't need to figure out electricity when somebody can just say light.
Well, and they have it here because we have the gnomes, but
yeah,
they're never, all their inventions don't go anywhere. I mean, somehow they can get into space with giant hamsters, but they can't create a light bulb.
Right? Well, I mean, they can. It's just in the process of making the back scratcher pickle grinder, right? Like, and you're like, what is going on? It's weird because, like, why would plate mail be old and antiquated? They don't have gunpowder. They're not using rapiers. They're not using weapons that are suddenly better at getting through plate mail. Like, the plate mail should be just as good now as it was then, because like the rest of the technology in advance.
And they have crossbows in this story, so plate mail should be gone anyway.
I guess there's crossbows, yeah, because that should punch through a mail, right?
Yeah, crossbows punch through. It removes the advantage of plate mail. And you're right. It's just like it's stuck, and it's just one of the tropes of fantasy. And
yeah.
Oh, right before gunpowder is introduced, that's where fantasy stops. And we can have everything before that because it's, in other fantasy novels, I don't know if it happens later at some point, but we're fighting with steel, and then we'll come up against an army and they have chariots for some reason. And it's like, why would they have chariots? Or, this one group of people in my fantasy setting, they're Roman legionnaires. And it's like, well, there would not be legionnaires. The style of fighting is different. You don't need Roman legionnaires in box formation if you have heavy cavalry.
Yeah, the whole point of the cavalry is to run through the box.
Right? Or run around the box.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why, I respect, Stephen Bruce, for instance. He's got, in his series, he was like, look, I want to write Three Musketeers, rapiers and guns style era of fantasy, but I've got magic and things. But he found a way to, make tech not evolve in story, and talks about it just so that he's like, look, this is where I want to write my story, so I'm going to make it so that I can do that. But Theros having innovation here and being like, I don't need that, is the first innovation and also the last innovation in Dragonlance. It's like, okay, fine, I'm good enough to make that. And part of it is also weird because, in the modules, the heroes go find the Hammer of Karos. They find it between Autumn Twilight and Winter Night.
Yeah.
And they give it to the dwarves to name the king of the dwarves or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, it almost feels like Weiss and Hickman wrote themselves into an oopsie doodle. They were like, oh crap, we gave it away.
Didn't they address it at the very beginning of the story where Sturm is saying, oh, we shouldn't have given that to the dwarves. We need it to make dragon lances or whatever.
Exactly.
And Tanis is saying, well, we didn't have a choice. We had to give it to them in order to save all these refugees.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they just kind of painted it in the corner there, and then they moved on and said, well, we don't need it, which is fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
But it's also I also like the idea of Theros just being good enough that he doesn't care. He's like, I can use any hammer. I don't need your stupid hammer.
He's like, I can use my bare silver fist.
I mean, dude's maybe the baddest ass in the entire saga, right? Gets his arm lopped off and comes back and builds the Dragonlance. And it's like, all right, cool, let's go. And he's like, you saw what that lance did to rock? And then the speaker's like, yeah, we'll see what it does to dragons, buddy. Let's chill. So Laurana's like, I need to wait for Tanis to come to Sancrest, or I want to go somewhere. I'm tired of all this crap. I just want to go back to him. And I don't want to have Kitiara having a step up on me.
That's hint, hint, wink, wink. Because she's like, I don't think he'll get to Sancrest through lands held by Dragonlords. And Elistan was like, well, if you don't think he and the rest of the companions will make it, why do you think you can make it through there by yourself?
I mean, that is a most reasonable thing he says, right? Like, hey, lady, you will die.
And she's just like, she wants action. She can't wait around. And that makes sense. She's not
Yeah.
the waiting kind of person anymore.
No, she's very, very bored and tired of this.
And then it does mention that in the dream, in the nightmare, the Sylvanesti nightmare, she remembers seeing Kitiara and being bothered by it. And she's upset about all that implies. We're going to see why really soon.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Gunther interrupts her like self-pity and comes in. It's like, aha, perfect. I need to talk to both you and Elistan. And she's like, this is intrigue. I am over intrigue. I'm tired of intrigue. I'm tired of the knighthood political infighting. This is all her internal thoughts. So Gunther is basically like, he's just very excited to find them and share these new developments. Because so Laurana showed up. She heard Gunther's story about Sturm's trial. And then she goes in front of the Council of Knights and is like, makes an argument of eloquence, merit on Sturm's behalf. And obviously a royal elf, so it carries weight. But because of the politics of the matter, it's basically a hung trial. Derek's faction still remains opposed. You know, they throw the matter to an open vote, and it's kind of like just doesn't go anywhere. They couldn't come to a conclusion about whether Sturm should be arrested or Sturm should be vindicated. So they kind of adjourn it. And so Gunther is here to tell Laurana and Elistan what has happened. He goes there. Laurana knew from the look on Gunther's face that things had gone favorably. But if so, why the maneuvering, right? And so she's like, has Sturm been pardoned? Gunther grins and rubs his hand together. Not pardoned, my dear. That would have been implied his guilt. No, he's been completely vindicated. Pardon would not have suited us at all. His knighthood is granted. His command officially bestowed on him, and Derek is in serious trouble. And Laurana's like, I'm happy for Sturm's sake. You know, but she's like, this sounds like a problem. And she doesn't like the fact that Sturm is being turned into, you know, pawn. There's this interesting sentence here, which is like, look, dude, Laurana is basically saying, I do not care about your knights and your politics. My first concern is specifically for my buddy. Gunther's like, yeah, but what is the one thing that's he cares about? He cares about the knighthood more than anything. So if you care about your friend, you care about the knighthood, which is entirely true and fair. Because she's like, I have Sturm's interest at heart. And Gunther's like, Sturm's interest is the knighthood. That is the beginning and end of it. And he basically goes to Laurana and says, look, I need you to, under the auspices of teaching people how to use the Dragonlances, you need to go to Palanthas, and you also need to carry this writ that I've got, this writ of vindication for Sturm, so everybody there knows that he has been freed and he's been given command again, and he is like in charge. And she's like, you could give it to Lord Michael, you could give it to anybody. And Gunther's like, dude, you're still not following me. I don't trust any of these people. They're all, you know, Derek's people.
Yeah.
I trust you because you are a neutral third party.
And you're certainly a partisan of Sturm, which means in my game, you're going to be on my side. And he does basically say, he's like, look, I'm going to put all my cards on the table. I am using Sturm as a piece in my political chessboard here, but here's why. If I can do this, if I can arrange for Derek to be humiliated at Palanthas with no one knowing and show Sturm as that, the likelihood that I'll be elected chapter master or head of the knights is almost certain.
Yeah.
If it's not me, it's going to be Derek. And who do you want to work with, Laurana and Elistan?
Exactly.
He's like, yeah, Sturm is my chess piece, but I'm trying to become head of the knights. And if I don't become head of the knights, your enemy who hates you and Sturm is going to become head of the knights. So how do you want this to go out? Yes, I'm using you, but we can use each other to get what we want. And she doesn't have an argument for that. She's like, oh, yeah, I guess I have to go. If you can't trust anyone but Sturm, which makes me think Gunther is in more of a precarious position than the book has led on, if he has no loyal people to him.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just feels that Laurana is outside of the game in a sense so that other knights won't think that she's going to be the tool he uses.
That's exactly it.
Like, oh, she's not playing the politics, so we can ignore her.
It's like somebody hands you a card from outside the game and suddenly you're like, aha, I can win. Gunther is not above a little subterfuge cheating over here, right? Like, because Derek has already put his thumb on the scale and frankly put his whole fist on the scale. He's already bought out like all of the other voting, you know, like we knew in the trial scene. Derek has the support of a lot of the like executive class of this, all the high ranking dudes. And Gunther's got all the young knights who are not exactly like people of power or influence. So
he's got the people who are looking to gain power and influence, but
don't have it. And Laurana's kind of caught here, and Gunther knows this because he's like, look, you want to help Sturm. He's your friend and you are loyal. I want to help Sturm, but by helping Sturm, I'm helping myself. So I need you to do this so that we can all make this work. Because it would be disastrous if Derek takes over. We all know this. Laurana, of course, agrees eventually. She's grumpy about it, but she's not an idiot. She was raised in one of the great political courts of Ansalon. She knows how the game is played. But she's really just upset because she has to give up her chance to go find Tanis. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, thank God, because you're going to die if you try to cross the entire continent by yourself to go to someplace you think you might have seen this guy.
It's funny here because this little ends. We learn that Taz and Flint are going to join Laurana as they go to Palanthas. Elistan is going back with the elves, and it's just so funny to me how Elistan pops in, has his say, and then just taken out of the story again.
Margaret is like the least amount I can deal with that dude, the happiest I'll be. So Elistan just kind of like any chance she has to just shove him off screen and out of the story, she takes it because he's. But she just hated this guy.
It's just like, okay, you need this talking point because Laurana needs to explain it to someone. Elistan's her mentor. That makes sense. Let's get rid of him. And then, I need to bring him back, though, because I need to do something else with someone else at the end of this chapter. So he'll pop right back in again, and then he's gone again.
Yeah, exactly.
Taz has to say goodbye to Fizban, right? That's what we learn.
Yeah.
He goes back to Mount Nevermind. We also learn that Nosh's life quest hasn't been ruined.
Yep.
Even though he fainted when the orb was destroyed. This is so good. Fizban recommended that, hey, look, now you can study it from the inside out.
Yeah, and he sits there and catalogs all 2,687 pieces of glass that the orb shattered into.
He was trying to map out where it went, and it says he was assisted by Fizban, but then it also hints that Fizban was just picking up the pieces and being like, oh yeah, I found these right here.
Fizban is sitting there on that parchment he's got playing tic-tac-toe with himself and losing. But yeah, Nosh is off there trying to make this work. He's trying to, in essence, as we learned at the last chapter, Fizban basically said, look, as far as the divine part is concerned, I will go to Reorx myself and I will I'll give you the office pass and you'll just be free. And so he basically gives enlightenment to Nosh's family. Nosh goes back and very happily staring at this glass.
Much more easier for him to actually work on it now that it's just broken glass, actually. It makes his job much easier, seeing as it's not magical anymore.
He's not going to die.
It's not going to do anything, even if he can put it back into the structure of an orb. The thing that was in it is gone.
Unshattering a glass orb that is solid glass. Okay, fine. Maybe you spend the rest of your life doing that. But also, what are you going to do? Use glue to put it back together and then it's not going to be transparent anymore. It's just going to be a big ball of glue.
Was it a solid orb? I kind of thought with the gas escaping, it was maybe hollow.
I guess that's not important.
Yeah.
I guess that's just I don't think it was hollow, but it's a ball of crystal. It could have just been refracted. It's magic, man. Who cares? We're not worried about the inside of the Dragonlord.
Taz says goodbye to Fizban. He's working with the gnomes to make a net shooting gun, and that's what the chapter art is.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to use the net shooting gun for.
Nothing.
It's just, again, I guess we just get to see how eccentric the gnomes' creativity and inventions are.
Yeah, well, because you can get in the old DMGs, you can get a crossbow that shoots a net out to restrain people. And so they're like, ooh, look, these guys are innovating weapons and stuff. But really what it is just Fizban launches this thing and the net flings backwards and captures him. It's just meant to be levity. It's just a moment of levity and chill.
Yeah. We do learn that Taz made the right choice, and Fizban thanks him for it. He's like, it's going to be hard, but we'll make it because of the work that you did. And then there's this cute scene at the very end of chapter 7, where Elistan is about to go to southern Urgoth. He's getting on the boats to go back with the elves. Fizban is walking along the shore, talking to himself. They run into each other, Elistan and Fizban. And Fizban's like, oh, haven't I met you before? Elistan, blood drains out of his face. He's stammering. He's overcome. And he goes, oh, well, are you okay there?
Yeah, I love this. He's like, indeed we have, sir. I did not realize it before now. And although we were but lately introduced, I feel that I've known you for a long, long time. And I'm like, I think that's a poignant moment there for Elistan to get a chance to meet his god in person, literally in the flesh.
You skipped the best part because he goes, "Indeed?" The old man scowls suspiciously. "You're not making some sort of comment on my age, are you?" "No, certainly not," Elistan smiled. The old man's face cleared. "Well, have a pleasant journey and a safe one. Farewell." And then he goes, "Oh, by the way, the name's Fizban." Like,
Yeah,
my
right?
name's Fizban. Make sure you don't mess up.
And Elistan is like, huh, okay, Fizban, got it. But it's still, though, I think this is one of those just very important moments in that, like, it would have been really disappointing for him to have been there and not had at least, and it also wouldn't have made sense for him, the new high minister, the high cleric, the missionary to bring the word of the gods to the people, to not meet the literal deity when he's in person, incarnate in front of him. I mean, I could see why Paladin would want to dodge that meeting, but at the same time, even just this one glimpse, this darshan he gives him, like, is important enough to set Elistan on his path.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he is like, I've got the text and I've met the incarnate deity. I have everything I need now to go and spread the word because I know this is truth, right? Like, this is the man in front of me. And there's a power in that.
I think he heard about Fizban before, but I don't think he realized until now who he just thought probably Fizban was a wizard, the way Tanis and Laurana and everyone talked about him. Oh, he's just an old eccentric wizard. I've heard about him. And now he knows, oh, look, the gods are involved in this endeavor.
Yeah.
He witnessed Fizban negotiate Taz destroying the orb.
And I think witness is an important word there, where, you know, Elistan sits there, is seeing the acts of his god in person. And it changes you. It makes a difference. It makes a solid weightiness to it. Discussion Fizban interrupted was Elistan talking to Douglas Markennan, the son of Lord Alfred Markennan, and he's like explaining the ways and the notions of the gods. But just having this interaction, however brief it is, I think is important to have on screen, just to be like, look, the gods are coming back. The quest that the heroes set out on to bring the gods back to Ansalon is succeeding. Some way, somehow, little at a time.
Yeah, the gods are back.
Yeah, I think it's sick. I think it's really cool.
It's just a nice way to wrap up this little transitory, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're tying up loose ends. This was another loose end. Elistan has met his god.
Exactly.
Fizban has met Elistan. Now we can move on to the next big swing and big beats.
And now Elistan can get onto the boat and go away for another book. And that's the end of that chapter. But before we move into the next one, as always, if you want to support the podcast, please contribute to us at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep putting the show out every month and paying for our hosting and handling all the things, because this is a labor of love. Nobody's ever going to sponsor this podcast. We're not selling card supplies or MeUndies or whatever it is. We're just two fans who want to talk about Dragonlance and just hang out with each other every month. And it is through your support that we're able to do this, and we're grateful to each and every one of you. We have a Patreon. We have a Discord that patrons can come and sit and chat with us. And shout out to our $5 patrons, Alexander Lewis, Nicholas Campo, Swardango, Chris Andrew, Jason Bledsoe, Brandon Brown, John Molino Jr., Jen Newhoff, Andrew Arsenault, Todd Fisher, Iskender Bilge, Matthew Williams, Kevin Don, Eric Schuld, Parrish Bell, Robert Fisher, and Tom Bertram. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we are grateful for your continued support.
It's not that we wouldn't sell out. I just don't think anyone wants to buy us.
We're not really a hot market these days. Yeah, sorry, we're just talking about a 40-year-old book series. Moving onward, we go back to the other party and chapter 8, The Parishon, Memories of Long Ago.
I was just going to ask, how do you say that, the name of the ship?
I don't know. This is one of those words where it's like, I have said it differently at different points in my life. I think I used to say the Parachon or Perchon or something. But now that I look at it, I'm like, I think Parachon feels more appropriate, easier to verbalize than Parachon or Perchon or Bill. I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
So we're just going to call it the Parachon. That's what it's going to be. And so chapter 8, and we cut here to Tanis and Caramon are hanging out here, and they're in Flotsam. Flotsam, of course, Flotsam and Jetsam is the famous phrase for crud that floats to the top of the ocean and gathers underneath piers and the eddies, the shore of big port cities. It's all just gross crap. And Flotsam was basically named after the cataclysm because of all the grunk and dirt that just kind of floated by and collected there.
From like Ishtar, right? Because isn't the Blood Sea, the center of the Blood Sea is the destroyed city?
Yeah, so the paragraph here, the name of the wretched town was Flotsam, and it was well named, for it lay on the shores of the Blood Sea of Ishtar like the wreckage of a broken vessel tossed on the rocks. Peopled by the dregs of most of the races of Kryn, Flotsam was, in addition, an occupied town now, overrun with draconians, goblins, and mercenaries of all races, attracted to the High Lord by high wages and the spoils of war. Oh yeah, the next paragraph's great too. And so, like the other scum, as Raceland observed, the companions floated along the tides of war and were deposited in Flotsam. So basically, Flotsam is like Port Balfour was there before, because Balfour was a big city and it was a big Kender city before the Cataclysm. The port is new there. The waters appeared after the rock fell. Flotsam was not a city before the Cataclysm, but it was basically the safest port for all of these people at the Blood Sea and stuff. So it ended up just kind of collecting the survivors and becoming its own little city. It's a gnarly place. It's a messed up place. And it is currently a very evil place. The problem is the heroes have gotten here because they got their wagon ride from Balfour. They're looking for a ship, and so they're in Flotsam, which is obviously a port on the Blood Sea. But the problem is they don't know where they're going. Raceland is recovered, and he's like, look, I need to go to Palanthas to study up on the dragon orb that I've got. The other people are like, maybe we'll go to Sancris. That's where the dream was or whatever. Honestly, everything is on the other side of the continent from where they are.
It's not convenient.
No.
Where they currently are.
Like, they are about as far away from anything useful as they can be.
And the town is full of an army because there's a Dragon High Lord in town.
Yeah. There's a Dragon High Lord in town, and these guys got rid of their fancy wagon before they get in town so that they're not going to be immediately noticed. They are kind of a weird motley crew, but Flotsam is full of weird motley crew, so that at least is a little lucky to them. Tanis has his beard, so he can dodge that bullet, and thankfully Taz and Flint are off with Laurana, so they're safe over there. So a bunch of humans and a wizard, in a red robe wizard at that, is kind of like not the weirdest thing to see. Raceland's like, don't worry, I'm not weak and foolish like the Elven King. I've got the orb. I know how to do this. And Tan's like, well, what does it do? Race's like, beats the hell out of me.
He's like, that's why I have to go to Palanthas. That's where the ancient documents I need are located that can help me.
Yeah. Tanis is like, hey, buddy, when you were unconscious, you were talking about ancient spells and my power. And Raceland's like, not sure what I said. Did I say anything else? And Tanis is like, no. He's like, great. Good enough. Don't worry about it.
That's right.
Yeah. That's like not suspicious at all, Race. Not suspicious at all. Race is like, look, remember, we got to go to Palanthas. And Tan's like, I want to go to Sancris for selfish reasons.
Regardless of where they go, they need a ship, and they can't just like get to the docks, apparently.
Yeah.
Them walking through town would be noticeable enough that they'd surely be stopped before they got to the docks. So they need to come up with some other plan.
Yeah.
And Caramon and Tanis are like, well, what we'll do is it's full of mercenaries. It's full of humans who are working. We'll just like mug a couple of these guys who match us, and then we'll get in their clothes and we can investigate the town.
Yeah. Because they're like, look, there's a bunch of Draconians and like Dragon Army folks here, and apparently they're searching for spies. Maybe they're looking for us. And it's like, don't be ridiculous. They couldn't possibly be looking for us. Tanis answered quickly, too quickly. There's a funny note here. Right as they're working on this plan to go and knock out 2 Dragon Army soldiers, so Tanis asks, how could anyone know we're here or know what we carry? Riverwind's like, I wonder, and he glances at Raceland. Race is like, hot water for my drink. And the next sentence is, there's only one way I can think of, which Tanis said. But what I read initially was, that's one way I can think of, which is, how are they going to know we're here? Because some weirdo keeps asking for hot water to drink.
Who would drink tea?
Some weird wizard asking for hot water.
Knowing what we know that comes after this, that makes sense. Knowing what we know after when this chapter ends, it doesn't. She would certainly know that her brother drinks tea all the time.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, think about it. The Dragon Queen knows who these people are, and she wants to find them because they've got the orb and they've got all this stuff. they know the pertinent details of look for a red-bearded half-elven.
Well, not even just a dragon queen. I was just thinking Kitiara would know what her brother needs tea.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Spoilers, folks. We meet Kitiara at the end of this chapter.
Look for a red-robed dude who keeps asking for hot water. Yeah, come on. But so Tanis and Caramon go into the wandering the streets of Flotsam. They find a couple of drunks, a drunk pair of officers. They go and set up a whole little skit in an alleyway where the Caramon's being racist and it's like, you stupid pointy ear, I'm gonna beat you up and drag you to the general. And then he sees the two drunks there and he's like, y'all help in, there's a reward. And these guys like, beat up an elf? Sounds good to me. You don't even have to pay me. So they go and then they start to get into a fight and Caramon grabs them, conks them together, and they strip them and grab their clothes in the great heist fashion. They get them, they take their armor, and then they're like, all right, we got to go and meet the captain aboard her ship at daybreak.
They were told by William back in Port Balafor,
Yeah.
This person, this Makesta Carthon, she's who you should go. You can trust her. She's like worth it.
Yeah.
She won't betray you.
Makesta Carthon, basically, they've got a writ from old William there who's like, these people are good people and their money is worth it. But it's interesting here in the beginning of this book. So they meet Makesta and she's like, let's see, let me guess, you're not officers in Dragon Army, not unless they're hiring elves these days. And Tan's like, is it that obvious? And the woman shrugged, probably not to anyone else. And that is the only clue and hint we're given that Makesta herself is also a half elf.
Oh.
Yeah, she is. We learned this in her story and also in the modules where she's a character. But she's one of those elves who's bobbed her ears. So she had basically
surgery,
bad ear surgery done to make her ears look more human shaped. She's a Northern Gothian, so one of the black people of Ansalon. People don't really look too closely to the ship's captain, so she gets away with it. However, she is a half elf.
Well, and she has a whole book about her, right? Isn't there one of the early heroes books?
Mm-hmm. It's fine. It's pretty cool. It's forgettable.
Perfectly cromulent adventure.
It was an entirely fine novel that I read to say that I've read it. I think I've read it like once. I probably could go back and reread it again, but it was just, there were a lot of Dragonlance novels and not all of them are worth a second shot. So she is a Northern Gothian. They're the dark-skinned race that lives in the north, which I like here. It reminds you that the equator is north of us. They've been sailors for centuries, and people think that these guys can speak the language of seabirds and whatever. They're basically just incredibly good sailors and pirates and proficient at being sea vessel type fishermen and stuff.
Have some tense negotiations. What they agree on paying is half of their travel to Calaman, which is like halfway across the northern coast of the continent.
Yeah, so Calaman is straight north from where we are and is just around the corner going towards Palanthas. So if you think of the map of Ansalon and you look at, like, my party used to call the Blood Sea the big jelly spot because it's the red dot in the middle of the water. But if you look at a map and you go north from Flotsam and then you hang a west, right at that corner, at that little jutting area there is Calaman. And that's where effectively it's a night city. It's a Solamnic city, so it's kind of safe, vaguely, probably. Dark Knights have gotten there already. But it also gives Tanis a chance to decide where he wants to go, because in going to Calaman, he can make that choice and be able to go to Calaman or to Palanthas or Sancrest, depending.
Or the party could split. It just gives him more time to make the decision.
Yeah. It's amusing that he's just like hedging even now. He's like, I don't really want to go, but that's a... But yeah, going to Calaman, you actually have to go quite a ways west around Nordmar and then duck into Calaman Bay to get to basically... It's the first port of Solamnia once you get around all of the Ogre and Goblin lands. It's still good enough in the right direction to get to where they're going.
They agree, they take a tour of the ship, and the chapter makes note to point out Barum, the helmsman. Who doesn't speak and doesn't ever leave the ship. Tanis seems to think he looks familiar. He asks Caramon if he recognizes him. Caramon's like, who cares, man? We have work to do. The name should sound familiar, shouldn't it?
Yeah, they heard Barum the name in Autumn Twilight.
Yeah, it's the same Barum, and he'll show up again later. Just has a way of popping up and disappearing and popping up.
He's got things to do in this story. Well, I mean, the last they would have seen him...
In the prison.
Eben and Baron run off. Then the giant stone boulders of Paxtarchus in the mechanism the Taz releases, they are all let go. They slam down and squunch the hell out of Eben and Barum.
Tons of rock fall over the gate to Zaxaroth, keeping the Dragonlord army out as the prisoners and them escape in the overpass. That's at the very end of Autumn Twilight, our first season.
Yeah.
So he pops up again. This is just the authors are kind of putting a hat on him, saying, hey, remember this guy?
Exactly.
Here he is. He might be important.
Yeah, but it's also just kind of this weird curiosity, like, wait a second, he was dead. How is he not dead? What's going on here? Between Paxtarchus and now, the party had gone almost all the way across the breadth of Antelon and has dealt with dwarves and Tarsus and the Dream and all this. Remembering a random dude who looks like another random dude who might share a name with him.
Who you saw in the back of a crowded jail cell.
Yeah, like vaguely saw, is just kind of like, Caramon's like, shut up, dude. You think you're the only Tanis in the world? Come on. Like, it's like saying, hey, didn't you know a dude named Michael? Yeah, buddy. You and everybody.
We see a lot of people, Tanis. Let's go. We got 4 days to get everything ready.
Yeah, literally, who cares? It's like McQuesta says, like, look, I got a lot of work to do, half-elf. You come here, you're going to gawk at a guy stitching a sail. Fair. I don't have time for this. Just a note. So these guys are like, all right, great. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll buy the supplies. Or rather, McQuesta's like, it'll take like 4 days for us to get ready. Caramon's like, man, I wish it was sooner. Too many damn Draconians here.
Yeah.
Caramon goes back to the inn.
Yeah, they separate. Tanis is like, I'll go get supplies. Caramon, go let everyone know. Go get prepared. I'll get supplies. I'll meet you back up at the inn.
Oh, yeah. And it's really funny because, like, nobody is, like, glancing at him because he's wearing dragon armor, but he had trouble remembering to return the salute to the Draconians and goblins. It was beginning to occur to him as he saw the respect his uniform commanded. The humans they stole the uniforms from must have held a high rank. The thought was not comforting. Yeah, buddy, maybe you got to think about whose uniforms you're stealing, but he didn't know any better. But it's good enough, though. Having an officer's uniform means you get around and you can walk around and you're not going to be bothered.
The supplies will probably cost you more because I imagine the people in this town aren't quite happy to see you occupying it.
They might cost you less because they don't want to get harassed by the dragon armies. But in either case, that's not Tanis' problem because he's just sitting there thinking about it when suddenly a hand wraps around his boot and yanks him to the ground. And he is basically clobbered in an alleyway. And an elf wearing, filthy, torn clothes jumps up to him and he's like, Dragon man, your foul kind slaughtered my family, my wife and my children, ignored their pleas for mercies, and I'm going to kill you. And he's got a spear and he's about to stab him. And Tanis yells out in Elven, tries to pull out his helmet. And the elf is like, I do not care.
Yeah, he's like crazed with hate for the Dragonlord.
Yeah, like you're wearing the uniform. Your plans are not my problem. You need to die. And then out of nowhere, a sword comes out and punctured him from behind. The dying elf falls with a shriek. Tanis looks up in astonishment to see a dragon high lord. He's like, I heard you shouting, saw one of my officers in trouble, so I guess you needed some help. High Lord reaches down a gloved hand to help Tanis up. Confused, dizzy with pain, and knowing that he mustn't give himself away, Tanis accepted the High Lord's hand and struggled to his feet. Ducking his face, thankful for the dark shadows, he mumbles words of thank in a harsh voice. Then he saw the eyes behind the mask widen. Tanis? The half-elf felt a shudder run through his body as a pain and swift and sharp as the elven spear. He could not speak, he could only stare as the High Lord swiftly removed the blue and gold dragon mask. Tanis, it is you! The High Lord cried, grabbing by the arms. Tanis saw bright brown eyes, a crooked, charming smile, and it's like, Kitiara. Hi.
Hey!
End of chapter, baby.
That's a great end of the chapter.
Oh, that's so good.
It sets us up for the whole next beat. It sets us up for my great disappointment as a kid reading this book in Tanis. I can't wait to read it again as I am now and see if I still feel the same way about Tanis in the chapters coming up, because I only have my memories as a child being so disappointed in the choices Tanis makes here.
Oh, no. Tanis is not going to undisappoint you. That is for sure. But it is fascinating, though, and I love this because, as you recall, in the entire story up till now, the High Lord has been referred to entirely without pronoun.
Yeah.
Entirely just a High Lord running the army.
From the beginning of the book in the preview where she's talking to her dragon. I forgot his name.
Yeah. Ski. Or Kellendos or Sky or...
They knew where they were all the way back then, but she's in this town. Like, does she know that they're in the town?
She was following them, but then she was like, I have to go do business over where my army is.
Yeah.
And so, like, we'll find that out when they talk to each other.
Tanis and his company have caught up to her, not the other way around. Okay.
Yeah. She was chasing them up through Sylvanesti.
Yeah.
And then when they go into Sylvanesti, she's like, I got places to be.
Got it. Okay.
But also, she was in the dream, wasn't she?
She was in the dream.
How do you get in the dream?
I asked that question too. I mean, I know why she's in the dream from the writer's point of view, because they need to set up this conflict for Tanis, Laurana, and Kitiara.
Yeah. But she's in the dream because she was in Sylvanest.
Got it.
She was in Sylvanesti, man. Like, you can't get there unless you were caught under the auspices of the spell.
So she must have been real close.
Yeah. But she's also on her dragon. She can tail them, do her business, and come back. We also had that interstitial scene, didn't we, of where she's telling her, where like we hear the dragons talking to each other like, well, they said we have to keep following these people.
Yeah. Where they're wondering why the two dragons and why are we following them? And like the only ones who are really important are the half-elf, the big burly guy, and the
wizard. But it also makes sense that Kitiara would be here and these guys end up here because like they need to go to a port. This is the closest port. Her army is also here because this is her port. And she controls this place. It's going to be really interesting and fun to see. And also, in the original cover of Dragons of Winter Night, you've got Laurana, you've got Tasselhoff, and you've got a masked Dragon High Lord. Later on, in the later covers, they take her mask off to show off that she's Kitiara. But I wish they hadn't, because that original unveiling is so...
Is that the original Elmore?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, why is there a Dragonlord on the cover?
Well, I mean, we know the Dragonlord is there because the Dragonlord is going to be important to the story. But I think it's so sick that they didn't reveal her so that when you're going and reading, you're like, holy crap!
Yeah.
It's so cool! When I was reading as a kid, this was one of the big, like, oh crap! It's on now! This was so much fun. And I did not stop the chapter because I ran right. I had to know. But we'll find out what happens with this fateful and fated confrontation next time, as we jump into chapter 9 of book 3 of Winter Night, called Tanis Captured. As always, my friends, you can find us on our Blue Sky account. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Discord. But with that, we will see you next time on the Chronicle of Dragonlance podcast.
Later. Parish Patel told me to tell you to pronounce it Parish Patel.
Parish? All right.
Yeah. He said, Shivam's going to tell you it's pronounced Parish. I just go by Parish. It's okay to say Parish Patel.
You can't put a Gujarati name in front of me and then tell me to pronounce it like a white guy, dude. Come on. Fine. But I respect your choice.
There's our bonus bit at the end of the podcast right there.